will be presenting, all of the facts that I will present are based on this document called GMO Myths and Truths. And this document, all of you have the table of contents in your agenda package because it shows you what is inside. And the whole document is available on the web, and it is free of charge. That document was written by two genetic engineers, Dr. Michael Antonio, who is a PhD in molecular genetics at King's College, and Dr. John Fagan, who holds a PhD in biochemistry, molecular, and cell biology from Cornell. It was published by Earth Open Source. My name is Huguette Allen. I am a co-founder of BeeS.A.F.E along with Jane Emlyn and Carla Vierke. And I am so thrilled to see so many people here today. Even though not everyone may be on the same page, I think it's wonderful to see that much interest in a presentation. It makes me feel that it was something very timely. So great to see everybody here. BeeS.A.F.E is a movement of SENSE, which is the local Sustainable Environment Network Society. We're also members of the provincial GE3 BC group and the National Canadian Biotechnology Action Network, CBAN. All these organizations work towards the same thing, which is sustainable farming, sustainable communities, as well as for food security. The hope for this presentation is that we will all end up with a clear understanding of how GMO crops affect our agricultural future. This is not against GMO farmers. It is for a sustainable farming future, which is a different thing. We feel that there are solutions for our farming future, but we won't find them unless we are willing to understand the problems that we are perceiving. Therefore, during this presentation, which I believe is a follow-up to the one that was given here in the spring of 2011, and as you mentioned, this is a complex subject, and I will do my best to condense it in 10 minutes. So therefore, I will only address the impacts of GMO crops on farmers and on communities, and I will show why we feel that our future is at a junction where a decision is needed. I will not address GMO foods, since you have no jurisdiction over passing resolutions over them. GMO crops at a glance. If you look up there, what you will see is that there are 4 major crops that are now grown in Canada. They are GMO corn, GMO sugar beet, GMO canola, and GMO soy. The major one that is grown, by the way, GMO sugar beet is not grown in RDNO as far as I know. The major one is corn that is grown here. The next ones to be accepted in Canada will be the GMO apple, as you know, being developed south of here, as well as GMO alfalfa that has already been accepted in the US, GMO wheat, and GMO trees. The way that it works is that GMO farmers usually sign a contract agreement with the corporation. These agreements vary from farmer to farmer. That means that the GMO farmers can not own their own seeds, but from then on must purchase the seeds of the GMO crop, as well as the chemicals that are required to grow these seeds from the corporations yearly. That means that from then on, the corporation owns the mean of production. And the reason that corporations, because many people ask, why would you ever create a genetically modified alfalfa? It's already a weed suppressor. Well, it's so that they can, from then on, own the patent on those plants. That's the real reason for genetically modified plants. The big problem that we have, and the reason that we are here today asking for a decision, is that coexistence between genetically modified and non-genetically modified crops is impossible. The reason, and all of the facts, I am taking this from this document that is evidence-based and scientific. It is not possible. Contrary to the corporation's earlier assurances, the GM crops do cross-pollinate with organic and with conventional crops, as well as with wild and cultivated plants of the same family. Canola is in the brassica family, includes cabbage, cauliflower, kale, broccoli, as well as wild mustards. Hard corn cross-pollinates with sweet corn. Organic and conventional farmers can no longer guarantee the purity of the seeds and plants that they grow in areas where GMO plants of the same family are grown. This is why we are here asking for a decision. Scientific American had many articles on this about genetically modified crops on Duluth. They are admitting it can't control crop contamination. The problems when crops that are non-genetically modified are contaminated is that the results can vary, but they range from plants' inability to take up the needed nutrients, plants' resistance to antibiotics, because when the plants are genetically modified in the lab, they put in an antibiotic mark regime. And that resistance to antibiotics is then passed on to everyone that eats the animals as well. Destruction of biodiversity and resistance to pesticides, which ends up creating super weeds. For example, GM canola passed the glyphosate tolerance. Glyphosate is the active ingredient in Roundup. It passed the stop working on those weeds. Even more toxic chemicals, such as 2,4-D, are then approved. That pollutes even more our air, water, and soil. GM crops have also increased pesticide use. We were told they were going to decrease pesticide use. They have increased them by 383 million pounds in the first 13 years of their introduction in the U.S. alone. Roundup is often presented as something that is completely benign. It is anything but. It persists in the environment. It has toxic effects on wildlife and humans. It increases plant disease, notably fusarium, which is a fungus that causes sudden death and wilt in soy plants and is also toxic to human and livestock. The impact on farmers that this has is, of course, very much in regard to the economy. Many export markets have been lost. One of the most talked about one is the annual $300 million canola export to the European Union that disappeared due to GM contamination. Another big problem in Canada and in the U.S. with GM crops is that non-GMO farmers whose lands are contaminated with GMO plants can be sued by corporations. I believe all of you know about the Percy Schneider case, which went to the Supreme Court of Canada in 2005. In Germany, it's different. In Germany, they passed a very different law where if anyone were to grow GMO and they were to contaminate, the grower and the corporation would be responsible. So you don't find GMO crops being grown in Germany. Now, GMO crops are at the core of industrial farming, and industrial farming includes CAFOs, or concentrated animal feeding operations, or factory farms. Detailed analyses of what occurs to property values in areas where there is a lot of industrial farming show that properties lose between 50 to 90% of their values. And the two pictures that you see below show what occurs in rural areas when we become a rural area known for industrial farming as opposed to mixed farming. The other problem that has been talked about in scientific publications is the fact that industrial farming brings with it a lot of diseases, and we've seen that with bird flu and so on. The other thing that it does is it inevitably converts arable land to wasteland, and that's been evidenced by the fate of regions that were not growing GMO at the time, but that were highly invested in industrial farming. They become total wastelands. The Union of Concerned Scientists have said that industrial farming, which was once hailed as a revolution, is now outmoded and unsustainable, and that it's time to transform agriculture into a sustainable enterprise, one that's based on systems that can be employed for centuries, not decades, without undermining the resources on which agricultural productivity depends, which, as you know, is our soil, our water, our air, and our farmers. That's what we depend on. We feel, and this is why we're here today, that right now we still have a choice. We can make decisions now, but we fear that as more and more areas are banning GMO crops, more GMO farmers will congregate where they feel welcome. And the chart that you see below shows your red line where as industrial agriculture grows, diversified food crops are decreasing. This is not anything that I found, this is something I made, because this is what we fear will be happening. And we have good cause to fear that, because it has been happening in various areas. We also feel that unless we make a decision, we will be sending a clear message that we're supporting industrial farming, which will lose us our family farms and local growers, biodiversity, and local food security. Local food security is extremely important. In Britain, food prices have risen 32% since 2007, which is twice the EU average. And the reason that Britain has been particularly vulnerable to price rises is because it imports 40% of the food it consumes. Well, in BC, what I was able to find on the web is that we are importing over 50% of the food that we consume, which is why there are so many areas building local food economies. We feel that local food is where security is at, and also our dollars. Save on Food has seen it. They are now going local. Farmers markets are experiencing growth. University of Northern British Columbia is saying that the rising interest in purchasing food directly from farmers has led to a tremendous growth in the number of farmers market in BC over the past 10 years. The problem is they're having trouble. Richmond, they had a lot of opposition. CropLife sent their, which is the public relations arm of the large biotech companies such as Monsanto, they flew their vice president from Toronto to attend their council meeting this May. Still, Richmond Council unanimously passed a resolution choosing to ban GMO crops. We feel that our future is at a junction. We feel that right now we are teeter-tottering. We can either choose to go on with, I think I called that corporate agriculture, I can't read in the red from here, but we can either choose to go on with what we see as big industrial agriculture, which we feel will be very harmful because it risks harming our local economy, our health, our clean air and water, our food security, our soil fertility, and most of all, our family farms. We got a letter that was sent to you today from the COABC, which is Certified Organic Association of British Columbia, and they are very clear in the letter saying that this, unless we ban, this will ruin the organic food industry in BC. You have the letter with you, and I believe I have it. I'll show it to you after. So where do we go from here? What we're asking you is to decide to pass a resolution, as 11 others did in BC. That resolution could look like this. It could say that the district of, or the city of, oppose the cultivation of genetically engineered plants and trees by using transgenic engineering in the municipality or the district, and that the district would not purchase genetically engineered plants and trees for its own use. That you would agree to revisit the resolution as pertinent new information would become available affecting this resolution, and that you would forward copies of the resolution to all provincial, federal organizations concerned. Passing this resolution is not binding. It doesn't give you any right to go and stop anybody. It can also make exceptions. It doesn't mean that the people who are growing GMO today would be stopped. What it means is that you could give the Agricultural Advisory Committee the mandate to work towards sustainable agriculture and to begin discussing a transition plan with the GMO farmers in the area. Because these people cannot stop today. And if they wish to change, they will need help changing. And I think that if they look at this, they will feel that there is a lot of impetus for them to look at other solutions. But I think they will need help making a transition plan. And this is why I would place that independent research has exposed the damage from GMO crops, as well as the risks of betting our future on industrial farming. We know that our future depends on the decision made at the board or by each municipality. I don't know how you will choose to address that, but we feel that if you do not make a decision, you are in fact making a decision. You're making the decision to lead us towards industrial farming. And making that decision will, as they say in that letter, kill. I will just tell you what it says, and maybe we can look at it on the web after, on the screen after. Oh, I don't have it. I'm sorry. We'll have to look at it up there, Rob, if you don't mind. Because I think they say something very important. There it is. Is it possible to make it a little bit bigger? Thank you. What they're saying is that for the organic industry, cross-pollination, which is what I really talked about, is a great concern. Cross-pollination of GMO crops on a certified organic farm would jeopardize their certification. This would be devastating for the industry, as it would mean a loss of integrity and revenue. The recent motion put forward by the regional district of Similkameen that UBCN request the government of British Columbia to declare BC a GE-free province in respect to all tree food products demonstrates the concern that is being felt throughout the province. I think that the support that we have here today, the fact that so many people in BeeS.A.F.E, we have amassed over a 6-month period when we had an office open, hundreds of signatures of people who really want to see action on this, because not taking action is in fact sentencing us to a future where we will no longer have diversified food crop. So this is what today is about. I'm very happy to answer questions. I hope I stayed within my time.